You're listening to the Light Over Time podcast with David Sargent and Korey Bartos. It is June 13th, 2025. It's been kind of hectic since our live episode. We've been kind of scrambling to try and get an episode in while we're mostly free. How are you today?
I'm feeling good. That was a good episode, wasn't it? I watched it and listened to it separately 2 different times.
Yeah, I was feeling at Mr. Krabs a little bit, but yeah, it was pretty good. I can get a little rambly with a little bit of brewski.
That's okay.
But yeah, so not too terribly much has happened with me, but I figured there was enough to chat about and to see what you've been up to, and then we have some photos to share in just a little bit. So tell me what you've been up to.
So I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. Pretty much after the live episode, I hit a wall chasing warblers,
Yeah.
like migratory birds. I haven't made an effort since then, specifically for that. I've gone out to do a couple of other things for birds, but like chasing the morning warblers and stuff, I just like all of that mood and energy to do it is gone.
Yeah, that's fair. It's pretty much done down here, which is a
Yeah.
bummer. I know I'll try to get out before it rained and stuff today, and it's fairly quiet in that regard, which is kind of a bummer because
Yeah.
obviously it was a lot of fun while it lasted. But
Yeah,
oh,
I still need Kirtlands, and they nest here, so I'm gonna like try to find those through the summer if I can. But yeah, man, I mean, I'm happy with what I got through the spring, but yes, that's been that.
yeah, right on. Anything else going on shooting wise? Any
Yeah,
creativeness?
a couple things. I did a commercial shoot for a couple new businesses in Charlevoix.
Cool.
So that was good. We spent 2 hours walking around. A new coffee shop opened up in one of the alleys there, and took pictures of lunch and one of the flower shops. So opportunities for pretty stuff. I used both the Z8 and the ZF.
Cool.
28 to 70 was on the Z8, and the 50 millimeter was on the ZF.
Do you mean the
So
28 to 105?
I do mean the 28 to 105. Nice catch.
I was like, he got a new lens.
No, I did not. Not yet.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, we did a commercial shoot. That was fun. I also included or tried to include some photos of my buddy Don fishing. You met Don
Yeah.
in Detour, and it was okay. We didn't have the best conditions. We didn't catch anything.
As it goes.
So when you don't catch anything, you don't take pictures of fish being caught.
Yeah.
But we did our best. But yeah, that was nice. And after that, I went between then and now. I did one hike up Sugarloaf for a sunset. The wildfire haze has been nasty, so I've been wanting to get out for astrophotography, but there's been no opportunity to see, even like barely see the stars through the haze, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Yeah. But take advantage of that when you in other ways. So usually when there's wildfire smoke in the air, it diffuses and allows the light from the sunset and the sunrise to refract through it in wild ways. Sometimes you get super crazy light in the sky. Sometimes it just kind of smokes it out and you don't get a whole lot. But usually, if it's wildfire and not much else, you get color in the sky. So I went up hiking with Sugarloaf with a buddy, Trent, and took some pictures with and of him. And Sugarloaf has beautiful 360 views, but he showed me kind of like a back way up the mountain, and it's not. It doesn't lead to the observation deck or the top deck on the top of Sugarloaf, but like just below it and to the side a little bit, and you get a nice view of Hogback, looking like to the west where the sun sets. So that was a nice spot to watch sunset. Got a couple shots in the distance and of him. So that's kind of it. I did do one other birding session after our photo group meeting, our photo club meeting.
Word.
So yeah, that's kind of it.
Yeah, it's not bad. Seems fun. At least getting a little bit of a mix there.
Yeah.
I've lacked a little bit of a mix, but I've been trying. Um, I, as we know from the last episode, I have the 85 millimeter f1.4 version 2 from Sony, and I was really trying to get along with it well. I think it's really awesome. Like, it's super sharp, it's super fast. But for the way I shoot regularly, I really kind of need more minimum focusing distance, like closer focusing distance, and it's like just out of my comfortable range. It's like
Mm.
around 3 feet, I think, or something like that, just over,
Oh,
and
yeah, that's pretty far.
it makes it pretty challenging to get anything um, for basically any product stuff unless I want to like really back up and kind of punch in a little
Mm.
bit. Um, so I don't think it's going to stick around, but still super happy with the A7 IV. Just
Sure.
been trying to get some stuff going with it. I took some portraits of a coworker. I've been taking tons of cat photos, and just kind of working through some of my presets that I use and trying to conceptualize doing some more shoots with people because I wanna photograph people again. I went back in my old catalog and realized that's all I used to shoot,
Yeah.
and I just haven't.
Mm-hmm.
Probably since like 2022 or something. I just haven't been photographing people doing cool things and being in environments and stuff. So I'm gonna work on that a little bit. I've been practicing with the cats, obviously, with light and things like that. But yeah, that means the 70 to 200 will probably be broken out more often because I do like that at about 135,
Mm.
and it's also versatile for doing like kind of working around somebody. You know, I'm thinking people that work with their hands, artisans, craftsmen, stuff like that. I'm trying to reach out to some people and photograph them soon.
Very good. Very good. You breezed by it. Can you maybe if you haven't talked about it on the podcast yet or much, talk about your presets? You're building out presets, right? You
Yeah, I
have
mean,
one that I know of.
I've always had presets. I have presets for all the stuff that I edit often.
Yeah.
Kind of like a light edit. I have a warm leaning and a cool leaning one that's like mostly identical for that I use almost every time I edit at work.
Mm.
And then I have like two more, a film sim that I made from scratch using some old Fujifilm that I used to shoot when I was still shooting a little bit of film. I really liked how it looked, and I kind of copied that. I call that Old Boy. I might eventually offer them if people want them just to like support the channel or something like that. But generally, I think using other people's presets limits pretty much all creativity that you're going to have in a post process like situation, and you still kind of have to work with them.
Hmm.
I use a lot of people's presets just to like play with them and see how they react with like different photos.
Yeah.
Um, and they almost always don't work how I want them to. Uh, I love mine. I use them on a lot of my posts now. I have one. I can't remember what it's called. It's I think I have JW Golden Hour, JW Blue Hour, and then I'm blanking on the name of it right now, and I don't want to change my scenes because I don't want to mess anything up for the
That's
podcast.
okay.
But I've been using it a lot more on birds. I just have to take the highlights way down on it and the a little bit of exposure down because it's really punchy. But a lot of my recent bird photography, I've been using that preset, and it's nice. You can pretty much I can make them. I kind of make them with and without color. So by that I mean like my JW Blue Hour and Golden Hour presets are really heavily like colored, but you can kind of neutralize that and then just have like kind of the base edits without the really strong tint and hue stuff.
Sure.
And then you still get the punch. I do a lot of super, super low highlight, really high shadow stuff. Um, I realized I've liked that a lot. I'm working on a black and white preset because I'm unhappy with all of them. Um, Basically, every time I use a black and white preset, I always just go back to the black and white thing and then do it myself.
Yeah.
So, because I like punchy,
Hmm.
lifted shadows. I used to really, really like crushing blacks, and I don't really do that anymore.
Right.
Um,
Neither do I.
and yeah, so just been working on that. If people are interested, let me know. I'd love to throw them up for like a pay what you want kind of thing. And if you want to, support us, we'll put it in a fund because I plan to eventually have a little bit of a fund for us to meet up with people. If I want to do a meetup or something, we can buy pizza or whatever it would be. But I put a little bit of cash away to do that.
Cool. Nice.
But yeah, just want to do some more human photography. I had
Yes.
a few people reach out to me. I made a story today about it.
Cool.
Unfortunately, a lot of my friends don't live close by. They're all over the
Yeah.
country, and they're just like, "Oh, it'd be so great." I'm like, "Well, we're gonna have to figure something out because Like some of them have dogs I want to meet. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so it's worth it, but you know, you got to squeeze that in somehow. I have spent a decent amount of time kind of looking at the landscape of a lot of the photography content on YouTube, what people are talking about. And I think I'm kind of to the jaded point of like, it's gotten to the point where everything's kind of super good and it's boring and nobody's making really cool stuff. So if you have any recommendations for people making really interesting content, I found a lot of people doing really great wildlife stuff, and there's no shortage of that. But I'm trying to kind of weasel my way back into not wildlife photography content.
Yeah.
Because we're still going to do that as much as possible, but I rely on less inspiration for that now because,
Yeah.
for obvious reasons, you know, you just got to get outside. I'm working on a collection of images that I will maybe try and put into like a little zine. I'm probably going to release this one as like a digital zine, so it'll just be a download, and I'll throw it up on like the Substack or something. I'm not going to print it. I don't think I'll probably print one for me. But
You should.
it was I wrote something in my notes, as I always do, because I have a messed up brain. And if I can find it, from trips to the jungle to your backyard, just go outside and look up is what I'll probably title it. And it'll just be kind of the last year of kind of figuring out what that looks like to just be outside, things like that. And so that's kind of cool. I've been kind of piecing some stuff together for that. And then with our conversations that we have regularly in the Discord lately, I think it sums up really well when talking about the XE-5 launch, where the final thing that I said today in the Discord, I was like, I wouldn't even worry about it. Just go outside and take some photos.
Yeah.
And, you know, Ryan just responded, best advice all day.
Yeah, I like that.
And so we could talk about that a little bit. I was gonna just like completely avoid it. I don't want to completely avoid it, but I think it's a little confusing. I guess I just want to express, now that I've kind of listened to what Fujifilm has said, and I've listened to some other creators that are in that space that are very Fuji focused. You and I are not. I had an XE4. I really liked it. I thought it was a cool camera. I got it in 2022, and I traded a very nice guitar for it. With shipping and everything, it ended up being a pretty fair trade. But at the time, they were selling over market. They were selling for like, I don't know, they were probably somewhere around $1,200, $1,100.
Which is like 300 or 400 over market when it launched?
Well, yeah, it launched at $849, I believe.
Close to that.
And so this was when people were kind of struggling to even get the X105 a little bit. There was kind of a lot of that. It was like the ramping up. I think 2022 was the ramping up of the Fuji price hikes online, where you were seeing like X100Ss and stuff for like $900, and that's such an old camera. They're not the same as even the F, which is 4. If you're not familiar with the X100 series, it's X100, X100S, which means second, X100, X100T, delineating third, F is 4, and then V is 5, and then they have a VI, Roman numeral, for 6. Clever.
They planned that out well.
Clever. I did not know that for a while.
I didn't. You just taught me that right now.
Yeah. I was struggling to figure out. I was like, which one came first, the F or the S or whatever?
Right.
I have no idea. And I was like, oh, it's literally second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth.
Sweet.
So that's pretty simple. But people were selling. Now I'm starting to see like the S and the T down to $500 or something, like something way more reasonable, especially for that type of camera, because they're still cool, especially that old. The old 16 megapixel Fuji sensor is kind of the one that had a little bit of that like crunchy magic that people really liked, and people still really like it. It's got the Fuji sauce, but we're looking at this release, and I wasn't around for the XE1 or the XE2, but apparently they were like, they're $1,000 in 2012, right? So like that's quite a lot of money, especially if you're thinking about the cameras that are out in 2012. That's kind of a tough pill, for such a small, underpowered camera for the most part, right? Because the earlier ones were kind of rough. The autofocus was way worse. They weren't mirrorless hadn't done it yet. It was struggling. And then the 3 and 4 kind of allegedly went like a little bit more budget, especially, now we're talking the XT2 has made its way. I don't think the 3 was quite there for the XE3, but maybe the XT3 and the XE3 were kind of around the same time. But that was when Fuji started to really pick up for video.
XT3 was like when I first really started hearing Fuji talked about a lot.
Yeah, I was around for XT2 people and stuff like that. And XT2 was, I think, the first where you were starting to see people take it really seriously and go, oh, with some of this glass, like the 23 and the 35-1.4, they were making amazing images, right? Starting to really get some of that film sim love and stuff like that. I knew multiple people that were running an XT2. But I was just getting into full frame from a 7D at that time, and then quickly went to micro four thirds. So I just went to the side. Didn't really care. So now we're looking at this camera, which is Fuji Canada had a post talking to someone, replying on threads, and they made a good point that they listened to what XE4 users wanted, and they did really add most of the stuff that XE4 users wanted. I think the SCM autofocus switch is huge for Fuji users. Adding the grip is huge for Fuji users. They put their best and brightest sensor in there. They did pretty much all the stuff that people that liked the XE4 wanted in the XE5. But I think the cognitive dissonance that's happening in the community is that this is a $1,700 camera at a time where at a time where Nikon is releasing a $1,700 full frame camera that is basically not really a compromise. Like, where a professional photographer can literally grab that and some Z-mount glass and go, oh, I can do a job on this. It has the frames, it has the autofocus, it has 2 card slots, it has the whole shebang. Like
a cheap 51.4.
Yeah, right. That's get that refurb, you're basically at $2,000, and you could do professional portraits and stuff. And that's not the target users for Fuji. Fujifilm knows that, like the people that want the XE4. But I can't help but think, regardless of all the things that could be said that are probably true, it's just because they can't make enough X106s, and they can just increase the hell out of that price. And maybe that's just, being a little curmudgeon about it or whatever. But that's how I feel that like $700 more than the most expensive model in the past. Just seems brutal.
It's that duality that I've struggled with is, how do you frame it? Do you frame it as the XE4's successor that increased in price that much, or do you frame it as an interchangeable X106?
Right? Well, because you almost have to do that to make
you kind of have
to make it worth it. But the the X106 is water resistant. It's weather sealed.
Right.
Which this is $1,700 and isn't. And that's that's kind of brutal, because they already kind of don't instill a whole, I don't know how many Fujifilms you've handled, but like the XE4 does not instill good faith. It doesn't feel as robust as, certainly not a DSLR, but even I learned to trust Sony's bodies a little bit. They're not as comfortable as some, but we know they're durable because I've beaten the absolute heck out of them.
Sure.
Doesn't feel the same for this XE series of cameras. And so for Fujifilm fans who have the glass that they like, they probably are locked in. Like there's a handful of lenses that Fuji makes that's not going to change users how they're buying their camera, right? If you're an XE3, or you have a slightly older body and you really want that 40 megapixel sensor, and you're doing like a little bit of street photo, and you want the small, there's a lot of reasons why people would still buy this.
Yeah.
I just think tariffs and the X106 success does not warrant this to be. If you don't have any kit, you can go get a much better, smaller camera. You can get an A7C2 and some glass for this price.
Yeah.
They go on sale well under $2,000.
Or if you want to get into Fuji, you can do it for less money.
Well, yeah, of course. But I mean, we're still looking at the 40 megapixel sensors. I think.
Sure.
I can't remember. I think just the XH2 maybe. and I can't remember if the XT5 had the 40 mil or the 40 megapixel, but
I
so
can't remember either.
those aren't. But I mean, sure, the size is nice, but why wouldn't you get an XT5?
Right. That's what I
Like
thought
it's
too.
it's better in every way.
Right.
At least technically speaking, other than being small. But if you just want it to be small and you're going to throw one lens on it, I guess it doesn't matter, and who cares?
Hmm.
Because the more I talked about it, and I didn't even want to get this in depth with it, but I figured I might as well just spill my thought process for those who don't care. Um, I look at as happy as I am now with the 40 mm 2.5 on the A7CR, which is way more expensive. And technically speaking, other than like being able to use my other really high-end glass, doesn't really do or afford me much over something like the XE4, other than it does feel more durable. Um, but I mean, I feel like it lacks anything that would bring it to that price range.
Right. Yeah.
It's crazy. Like it doesn't have like two card slots. It doesn't have the HDMI. It doesn't have like a headphone jack for video. Like it doesn't have like anything that would make me go, "Oh, okay, I see how they managed to squeeze that much out of $700 more dollars." And it's a bummer because I really like my XT4. I miss it. The only reason I got rid of that stuff was because I kind of had a huge life change and I had to sell a bunch of things. I sold my favorite guitar amplifier of all time at the same time as well. So I probably would have kept it around a lot longer if that hadn't happened. But I was looking at it like, oh, I can return the 85 mil and maybe get an XC5. And then I'm like, oh, actually, I can't do that. Like, I wouldn't be able to afford any glass.
Yeah.
And who knows if they'll even ship. So anyway,
Right.
we'll get off of that. Unless you had any final words about it, I think that kind of sums it up.
Not really. I mean, I've handled the X106. I enjoy holding that camera. I think it's fine. I wouldn't mind trying to use it, but I would never pay that price, like you said, for what it comes with for what I need.
Yeah,
It's not there for me either.
yeah, and it's not for us. I mean,
Nope.
we're rocking much higher end stuff than that for much different types of photography. So
Right.
if I was real to myself, I would rather just go get a Q2 used for thousands of dollars, and that would be in every way better than any of that stuff. But yeah, I mean, you're almost there when you're freaking dude over $2,000 for a good lens and that bot. It blows my mind. There's so
Right.
many, especially like, dude, it's not smaller by any means. The ZF, after looking at yours and stuff, is actually quite a large camera,
Yeah.
but it has all the vibes and is a better camera in every way.
Like, if I mean, I can go out and get a ZFC for like $600, and that does a lot of that for me. If I
Yeah.
want that small, more pocketable, save a ton of money. I don't get the 40 something megapixels, but if I'm buying a Fuji, I don't think I care about
Dude,
megapixels that much.
you also don't get Provia and you don't get Eterna.
Oh no.
So get wrecked, nerd.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, that was my weird diatribe. It made me appreciate what I have for the price that I got it, even though I have an expensive kit.
Yeah.
And realize that I'm quite happy and I'm really excited about shooting photography again, which is huge for me.
Yeah.
Sidebar, just one more little note about something that also energized me. I was talking in our Discord again about a movie that Elle and I watched this week called Minimata, which is about W. Eugene Smith. He's an old photographer, photojournalist guy. He kind of is coined for making like the photo essay popular, kind of bringing that as a thing.
Cool.
It sounds like he was kind of an asshole. Sounds like he wasn't like the swellest dude ever. He kind of sucked. But the long and the short of it, skip like I don't know, 30 seconds if you don't like spoilers, but basically there's this disease that's spreading in this little town of Japan, and he gets kind of he seems like a reluctant photographer who just like wants to do something but like kind of wants to give up, and Johnny Depp portrays him so that like think of Captain Jack Sparrow as like a 1970s photographer from America, and you kind of nail it because Johnny Depp kind of does the Captain Jack Sparrow thing all the time. But he ends up meeting actually people from Fujifilm. They come to do a little thing, and then they reveal that they're actually there because they want to drag him to Japan so he can cover this and like get light on it, because people are getting sick and dying.
Mm.
And it's interesting. It's very dramatized. It's a biopic about W. Eugene Smith, and what they do really well is blend the story that they actually covered. They don't directly kind of talk, because this is still affecting people that are alive today. They don't really do a whole lot to really talk to those people, but I think they do a good job without potentially like making the individuals who are very sick from this or have suffered from this or had family members suffer from this really uncomfortable. That was the biggest critique that I saw of it, that they didn't really like let the like real people voice how important this is and stuff like that. It was kind of just like protesters who had family members in the movie a lot and things like that, and then obviously surrounded Johnny Depp's character, who is like somebody else had written what the least interesting character of the whole movie. But it shows him getting a little like wild and doing a little editing in the dark room, and like it's really, really focused on the photography, and it has some beautiful moments, and there's cinematography in it that's like so photographic. And I love Japan. I've been to Japan a few times, and it really captured that like every frame is a scene. Everywhere you go, you're like, I could photograph that. I could photograph that. It's like Japan is really cool in that way for Western eyes, I think, and it's beautiful. So it's worth watching. I think anything that I think negative about it, I kind of have the same vibe for most biopics that are high budget. Like they're dramatized and they miss the bar for a bunch of people, and it's not perfect, but that's what you get when you have suits making movies.
Do you know when this movie released?
2020.
2020. Oh,
So it's relatively new, but I think it went kind of under the radar.
And where is it streaming now?
Hulu is where I watched it. Okay. Worth watching, worth checking out, especially.
Try and watch it this weekend.
Yeah, especially if you just like photography. I found it interesting enough to want to look into more movies that kind of focus on photography. I thought it was kind of good.
For sure. I mean, in that same vein, that series that Netflix did, I think around that same time, I really liked as well. It's not everybody's thing for sure. What was it called? It was like Canon's. Oh, you should check it out. I'll try to find it for you. I don't know if it's like something along the lines of Explorers of Light, because that's like Canon's ambassador thing.
Right.
But it might be similar to that. I'll get it for you later. But I liked it a lot. It was like a six episode thing, I think, following one different photographer each time, and they all focused on different things. And
was it modern photographers? Like, was it modern ambassadors?
Right.
Got it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
I dig it. I mean, production can do a lot. Like YouTube goes so far, but if you can have something really well produced that is like really focusing on the photography, it can be really inspiring and fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's a docuseries, so it's less dramatized, right?
It's for sure.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
cool.
So moving right along to shooting photography, we have some photos to share, and I would like to share some. So I was kind of gonna bounce in between them, maybe, but I guess we'll see how this goes because I haven't really done it like this yet. So changing my scene, and we can start with your first one here.
Okay.
Which I also have a photo of this bird today.
That's funny. So this is a palm warbler. This is a palm warbler that I shot May 10th, I believe it was, or could have been May 1st.
May 10th. It was May 10th at 6:14 p.m. and 21 seconds.
You can see that May 10th, 6:14 p.m. light on him. So this guy was
damn, that's sharp as hell.
I know. On the trail near my house where I took you, where I do a lot of my birding because it's so easy to get to from where I live. This was one of two palm warblers that just didn't care about me at all. There's like a little fence that runs along to separate the trail from private property, and he basically bounced just right around that fence line on every branch that was relatively eye level with me. So he gave me tons of opportunity to just stay full frame, so I was not in crop mode, and he was closer than that a lot of the time. But what I liked about this, and what I kind of took away from this particular moment, this session with him, was that even when the light isn't necessarily great, like it was actually mostly overhead. It looks very directional here, but at 6:14 May 10th, probably it's not directly over your head, but I was okay with allowing the shadows to just fall way, way, way dark,
Yeah.
and just exposing for the highlights, which was appropriate here because those highlights are on his chest, on his face,
Yeah.
and on the branch that he sits on. So had I let the highlights go, this wouldn't have been a worthwhile shot, really. But it just reinforced to me that, like, even in not the greatest light, like another hour later, this would have been like much nicer, I think, light.
Yeah.
Um, but it's okay to play with that. Sometimes I do let those highlights go up way high and just kind of let the expose for the shadows a little more depending on the bird,
Yeah.
or whatever it is. But in this case, I felt like it was a nice look for this bird. And he gave me lots of nice looks. It was kind of hard to pick one from this set, but yeah.
You're crazy for the 16:9 crop, but I'll allow it.
Why do you think that? I really want to dig into that a little bit.
I hate 16:9 for photography because I hate 16:9 for video. I've never enjoyed it. I think it's a bad crop. The only reason it exists is because of I don't know, bad widescreen movies.
Wow.
And it's not good. I don't like it. I've never liked it.
It's anchored in something completely not photography related, and I don't know what to do about that for you.
Yeah, I don't like 2-to-1 is better in every way, visually. And I'll die on that hill. Obviously, this does nothing for your photograph. Like this could easily be cropped to 2. In fact, I'll crop it to 2-to-1 real quick and see how much I enjoy it. Because give me that sweet 2-to-1. 2-to-1 crop. Yeah, baby, let's go. Now that's what a movie looks like. Oh, perfect. Beautiful. I regret nothing. If I'm going wide, baby, I'm going 2-to-1.
Well, sucks to be you, I guess, because I've done so much in 16:9.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't matter, so that's totally fine. I dig it. Like I said, it has no bearing on your photo. I think the photo's great. The lighting is amazing. I really like how you were on a perfectly horizontal branch. Every time I get a horizontal branch on a bird, I'm so stoked. And then I like that it looks like it was busy, but it's just perfectly opened up on the bird. Dude, my cat is going crazy. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. There was a bunch of different looks he gave me where it was even more busy than this. So that was one of the reasons why I did pick this one.
Yeah, super clean. I love that. Like I often find those spots where I'm like looking around for a bird and I'll turn to even you or Elle and I'm like, if a bird could just land right there, this beautiful patch of light on this beautiful branch, then my whole day would be better. But
yeah. You want me to move on?
Yeah, let's go to this next one.
Okay.
Look at this cutie.
Merlin. This was an opportunity I got with a Merlin the day before you arrived in Detour.
Yeah.
This was at one of the nature preserves that was roughly 10 miles west of where we were at. And it was a protected bird sanctuary too, which was cool. I got on the trail. I heard them. This is where I also heard Canada warbler. I got red starts a bunch here. So there was a bunch of things bouncing around. It was also like you get on the trail and there's it's not very far because it goes maybe a half a mile from the start to maybe not even like a quarter mile from the start to the shoreline. But from the start to the shoreline, it goes from grassland, woods, and kind of forested, and then all of a sudden it becomes boggy, and then all of a sudden it changes. There was a little creek that it was less boggy, and so there was lots of little biomes and habitat areas for lots of different things.
Yeah.
So I thought it was very cool. I would probably return there next spring and maybe spend a little bit more time, especially because I know this Merlin probably likes this perch. And when I looked around here, I saw multiple perch opportunities. So I bet his nest is nearby.
Yeah.
Or her. I'm not sure if it's a male or female, but I heard it chirping as we did plenty of times the day after.
Yeah.
And when I saw this guy on this perch, you can probably tell from the angle he's not that high above me.
Right.
So I got a really good look at him as he lifted that talon and kind of looked my way. I had 2 shots here that I really liked, but this one was a look that was a little bit different, that I felt kind of just impacted the viewer a little bit more.
Yeah.
And this is kind of the opposite of the last photo, right? Where I let those highlights go a little bit. There's still some blue in the sky, but I really the bird was in like his face definitely was like in a lot of shadow.
Right.
So I did what I could to recover that, and I didn't care so much about the clouds, although I think I did a pretty good job retaining everything there.
Yeah. I actually thought that it was like a gradient filter at first, but it looks like that's actually clouds behind him.
It is
The
some
white,
clouds, yeah.
which is nice. He must have just like fished or something recently. Like,
Maybe
what's up with
he's
his dude?
ruffled,
Yeah,
right?
he looks like either really ruffled or very wet, which
That does look like his
dry.
his head is wet. I didn't
Yeah.
even really clock that.
Yeah, drying out a little bit. So must have either unsuccessfully hunted or gave its babies or something some fish.
Maybe,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
I did not clock that. That's good.
that's beautiful. I'm gonna move to my first two.
Yeah.
So I think I kind of labeled them for you. The first one is of
Where did you put them? Hold on. Where'd you put them?
Oh, there's a folder inside LOT
Oh, I see.
called KB. Yeah.
Thank you.
So this is of one of the most common warblers that you'll see for most of the migration period.
Mhm.
However, I almost always get very boring photos that I do not care about, and this is amazing to me. This is a good capture. This is one of the moments where I was intentionally spending more time with this bird.
He's got a buggy.
Yeah, I was intentionally spending more time with this bird because I wanted to get a good photo of a bird I had already captured a bunch.
Yeah.
And there was some tree swallows. There was some other stuff. I think we were still trying to find a couple of the warblers. Elle kind of walked around this like little path under these trees. And I was like, no, I'm really close to these yellow warbs, and I think I'm going to get a really good photo. And I snapped, I think, 2 or 3 right here and nailed him getting a little buggy. There's a little buggy flying right in front of him. And he's like,
I saw that first, but then I
and-
looked closer.
Yeah, and he's shaking his little tail feathers, and he's doing it. This is a cool photo to me. This is so much more interesting than 100 photos of yellow warbs that I've taken.
Yeah, I mean, immediately what I noticed first, obviously, was like the way he's contorted his body, right?
Yeah.
So once I looked closer into that, then I was like, oh, dang, there's even more than that going on.
Yeah.
So it is interesting right off the bat and in the details.
Yeah, he leans forward, he grabs that little buggy, and then he flies and eats it. And it's,
Yes.
oh man, it's just one of those things that like would have been super easy with pre-capture, but I didn't have that. I had 7 FPS, and I just happened to get a really, really nice image. And
I also
grateful
like
for
that this yellow warbler isn't just like flat yellow, because some of them can be. This one, you've got nice stripes on the front, going from like neck all the way down, and some black on the tips of the wing feathers. So that's really nice.
The mangrove warbler, which is just a yellow warbler. But yeah, so super cool. I was really happy about that.
Very nice.
It could maybe be a little sharper, but it did the thing. Super, super happy about that.
Yeah.
This next one, also one of the most common warbs.
Yep.
However, I intentionally went, I want to get a better photo of this bird. And if I'm not mistaken, and this is at 1/50th of a second at ISO 100.
Dang.
Because I was at 600 mil. Because we rolled up to this spot when we were on the west side of the state, and right when we rolled in, there was like a handful of birds really just not minding us at all in these little pines right before we went into like a little nature center. And I snapped a couple of photos, and I was like, what's going on? And like all of them were blurry. Like I think I probably took like 40 images. I'm sitting there thinking it's exposed well, taking some photos, and then I chimp one of these photos and go, oh my gosh, I'm missing my ISO is still at 100. I took a handful of photos of a lighthouse. So I was at this is at F10, 100 ISO. Still an aperture priority. And this is not a lighthouse off of the beach. There is much less light, and I absolutely needed to not be at F10 and ISO 100. However, what that did for me, I will punch in a little bit. You'll see a little bit of motion blur, but this is 600 mil at 1/50th of a second. Yeah. So it's plenty sharp for what I want, and there's zero noise.
Yeah.
Because it is as clean as I could have possibly gotten. So I'm so grateful that shattering off a couple of images, I got a pretty clean one. And again, this is, I don't know, this is cropped in, but it's about APS-C, so about 26 megapixels still, just under, which means I probably was in APS-C mode and then only cropped in just a little bit. So with all that, I'm pretty happy.
And let me just take this opportunity. I know I sing his praises all the time, but this is the stuff that Ray Hennessy, who I follow often, he defaults to this kind of shutter speed for a lot of the reasons of keeping that noise down, staying at ISO 100.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody, and for like quicker birds where you want that fast action
Like
held,
warblers.
like warblers. But even with warblers, if you want that shot of them sitting on a branch, like I think I prefer that shot more than them just in flight for the most part anyway.
Yeah.
Then just have those settings and be prepared for it to land is totally fine, right?
Yeah.
Because you got a clean as heck shot out of it.
Yeah. And like I said, for social and stuff like that, you can't even zoom in far enough to know that there's motion blur because, it's Instagram. It compresses it anyway. So this is super sharp. F10, and you can see how blown out the background still is. You do not need an F4 lens to get like great wildlife. I literally like got out of the car and walked over to a tree and took this photo. So like,
it's very pretty. Yes.
Yeah, it works pretty good.
Nice.
Let's go back to your third one.
Okay.
This is the heron shot, looks like.
Yeah, you were there for this shot. This was the morning we woke up.
Oh, nice.
And I think we were walking out to the beach. I heard it move. This is one of the two. So this shot and the next shot are two examples of what this camera and lens can do that the A7 IV was never going to do for me. You know what I mean? The autofocus and the quickness of the focusing speed between the Z8 and the lens enabled me to capture this great blue heron much faster with accuracy than I would have gotten with the A7 IV and the 150 to 600. I've just been in that situation to know that. I have flushed great blue herons with no shots. And so this was the first time with this combo that I have flushed a great blue heron. And the moment I brought the camera up to take the shot, I got it. And then I turned around to tell you that there's a great blue heron.
Yeah, I have a photo of you standing out there and a heron up in the sky, which is pretty cool.
Oh, dang. All right. Wow.
Question for you. How much noise reduction did you use?
Oh, plenty. Yeah. So it was early, right?
So noise reduction doesn't even look that bad. I'm not looking at what I normally see for artifacting. You can still see so much detail in his feathers. But this is at ISO 16,000.
I know.
I could never dream.
I actually edited this shot after work today to share with this because I knew I wanted this shot. And when I got in there, I was like, oh, dang, this is at 16,000. But it really wasn't that bad anyway. And I was like, maybe I should just do this. But I ended up going with the noise reduction just because it ended up looked a little better.
Like I said, like this isn't giving like you put a ton of noise reduction on it. Like it doesn't look bad. I didn't think so. Like this would all be muck, and it would look like tessellated.
No, specifically, I used AID noise at 20%. Like
that's not.
It's just enough to make a little difference. 16,000 makes it look like ISO like 1600, right?
Yeah,
it does a really good job.
That's actually crazy. But again, and this is another lesson for high ISO photography. This also looks clean because the bird is well exposed at 16,000.
Correct.
So like if he didn't have the sun on that and it was like even darker down here and he pulled this up at 16,000 to this highlight level, this would look really bad. Like he would have had to use more. It would have been bad. So you can get away with high ISO if you still have light hitting your sensor. Mm-hmm. And I think at least beginners don't really understand that like the light still needs to be there.
Yeah.
If you're compensating for the lack of light and you're pumping past 6400, it gets really brutal, but you did have just enough.
Well, I'll let you in on another secret here. There's a ton of masking here, which we both do for wildlife photography. The masking I did was selecting everything but the bird and bringing exposure down. So like I actually got plenty of light. It was just noisy, right?
Yeah, right.
So bringing some of that down did also help bring hide some of that noise.
Yeah, and then pulling probably clarity and texture on it a little bit.
A bit, just a bit. But really bringing everything down a little bit because the bird was nicely exposed. That's really what mattered there.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
So
whereas like if you were like me and you were playing it safe and had your ISO like much lower, you would have done the same exact edit. However, you would have pulled that exposure up on the bird rather than pulling the rest down, and then your bird would have looked really mucky.
And there would be a good chance of motion blur too. to
Right. Yeah.
compensate for that.
Right. You're at
So
1-800, which is really pushing it on a bird in flight. Though
that's
it's a big bird in flight, so it helps a lot. He was they do a little bit of a soar if you've never seen one take off like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's epic. That's
I
a
liked it.
great lesson in stuff, but also just crazy sharp. I don't think I could have done that with the same settings with my setup for sure.
Oh, I think you could have. When I got a brief moment with yours, I was really impressed with the focusing speed. Really impressed.
Man, not in low light, man. It struggles a lot.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's pretty epic.
So again, if you want me to move on,
Yeah, the next one.
next shot, killdeer. I really like. We're kind of highlighting some of our spring favorites. I think. I didn't think a killdeer was gonna make the top list for me, but when I took the shot before I edited it, I like yelled across the room to Lisa. I was like, "This is the best shot of a killdeer I think I've ever gotten." And it's like not groundbreaking, but
Sure.
what it is I caught it in flight with nice light,
Yeah.
like the first light of the morning on the river. Um, and I really just liked the color differences. Like it's got the nice warm colors, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
flying over the blue of the river, and there's some nice layering in there. I would have hoped for a little better positioning of the bird, but there's not a you can't control that a
Sure.
lot of the time. But it was again that Z8 500 PF combo. It was grabbing those birds no problem. The killdeer don't fly super fast. They're
Yeah.
not extremely agile, so they're not bouncing in all kinds of directions. So you
Yeah.
can kind of predict a little bit and pan with them.
And it really helps that they scream when they fly, so you can usually catch them.
They are very obnoxious. They let you know exactly where they are. Yes.
Yeah.
But the river here this year, for some reason, in East Jordan, I saw more killdeer than I've ever seen in that area, which is fine. They're I think they're kind of an annoying, obnoxious, like shorebird, but I think it made for a pretty image. And again, just one the A7 IV probably would have struggled with. I don't think I would have. I think when I saw this bird, the A7 IV wasn't going to grab that shot until it was much further to the left.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean the reflection is super cool. The tones of the blues
Yeah.
with the sunlight's super awesome. One of those things that's just like, I mean, it could have been a robin and it still would have been a sick photo, right? Like,
Right.
so a killdeer is definitely more interesting than a robin, especially in Michigan where we have millions of robin. And every time you think you see a cool new bird, it's a robin. So that's fair. That's super dope. I definitely wish I was able to capture more sunrise or sunset good bird images. I don't have too many. I have a lot like before, the setting and after. So you're getting a lot. I have a lot more hard light. I just wasn't able to hack any really interesting morning shots or night shots like that.
Well, that's just the benefit of like I got that area. I know it's great for the sunrise. It's really not that great for sunset. So when I'm in that area and can make it, I know I default to there because I know the light is probably going to be good if I can see the sun.
For sure. Cool.
Okay.
All right, we'll go into my third and fourth. This isn't spectacular by any means.
But it is.
In the same way that many things just aren't. However, this was one of the. I think this was probably the second time I got an okay look at a northern harrier. We went to Korey Marsh around here in Lansing, and we were shooting around, and then it kind of became a meme. I think after this or before this, but like we'd see a white bird off in the distance, and we'd be like, "Harrier, found him." And it's pretty easy to tell. Everything I know about northern harriers is just because Elle really wanted to find them this year, so I owe all that to her. But they always hunt really, really low, and you usually get like 7 seconds with the dang thing, and then they just disappear. They're wild. They'll swarm around. You'll see them kind of go back and forth. They'll find their kill, and then they're out. This one happened to do that. We lost sight of it for like a second, and then it was above us. And that was wild. And we snapped off a couple of shots. They weren't crazy. You can see on my settings here that I'm at 1/4000th of a second at f8 and 1600 ISO because I was not prepared to shoot into the sky at this particular moment. So that's my max shutter speed with the A7CR at the time. And this thing's just cool. They're super rad.
Yeah.
They're hard to find. We saw, we got a gray ghost this summer as well, or this early spring, which is, it's really rare to see a male. This
Yeah.
is either a juvenile or female. I'm not an expert on them. I just know it's not a male. And super cool.
Yeah.
Very interesting,
It is
especially when
cool.
you watch them hover. Like, it's super wild.
I believe I've only ever seen a harrier once. It was so far away, so I can't be positive that I did.
Mm.
And I just would love an opportunity because it's, I think, for most birders, especially those who really try to like seek out birds of prey, the northern harrier is that like, got to get that bird.
Yeah, I mean, they're cool and they're a little owly. Their faces they're like between a hawk and an owl.
Yeah.
They're their own kind of vibe and just super cool.
But like you said, one of its traits is that it likes to hunt low to the ground. So
Yeah.
you can get some pretty interesting shots that you don't usually get with other hawks.
Yeah. I can't remember if I shared any of the other photos on the podcasts that we've done, but if you go to my Instagram, you'll see some that I got like pretty low when we
Yeah.
were up in Oscoda, and that was the gray ghost, and it was super cool. They're neat. I love birds of prey, so
Mhm.
any bird of prey that's like a little bit more rare than seeing red tails and eagles. I still get I probably get equally excited when I see eagles that I can get good images of, but
Mhm.
this has quickly become one of my favorite. His like little smirk, their little owl-like weird face. They're just so weird. So big fan. Um, this next one was a fan favorite that I didn't expect because I didn't expect to get this image. This is at 1/6400th of a second, 6.3 ISO 1000, 524 mil. I with the A7 R5. I was not shooting ducks. I was trying to find probably like a marsh wren or some kind of sparrow. Probably we were in Korey Marsh for this one too. A different day. This is pretty recent, and we just a duck, and I turn and I shoot like 5 or 6 images, and this was actually quite sharp. And the blue-winged teal has eluded me like all winter. We found a bunch of them. They'd always be too far away, or I'd get there not early enough to kind of sneak up on him. And a blue-winged teal, especially if it's just like one with its a male and a female, they'll just kind of are gonna get out of here then. If you're here, much like most waterfowl. You really got to kind of sneak up on them or be there while they're coming in.
Yes.
But for such a large sensor, duck in flight going pretty quick, I'm really happy with this. Fairly sharp, didn't have to do too much to it. The light isn't perfect, but it's not the worst. It's behind me, so it's well lit and it's not super straight up. So, yeah, it's probably at like 45. You can see its little shine in its eye. And this is my currently best photo I've ever taken of a blue-winged teal, and I like it. It's pretty good.
Yeah, when I left Detour and went to the Seney National Wildlife Refuge, I got my first blue-winged teal. I've seen green-winged a couple of times this spring and summer, but I didn't get a shot as nice as this. This is very good, very crispy, very clean, and yeah, front lit. So we're not talking about battling shadows or anything. So
Yeah.
that looks very nice.
Yeah, one of like boring to me, right? Like this is you're looking in an ID book, and it's like this is what a blue-winged teal looks like. So it's not like extravagant or anything, but it's sharp in flight, and I think that's more interesting than all the duck shots on the water.
For sure.
And it's not easy to get them. Those and wood ducks are up there for me. I want to get a really good profile in flight of a wood duck.
Yeah, I have gotten more opportunities with a wood duck this year than any other year, both mostly female and at Seney again with the male, but he was just swimming. And I got a couple shots I edited off of that, which I kind of like. But you're right. I would love an in-flight of a male wood duck. But again, the blue-winged teal also is
beautiful.
One of the more
duck.
interesting, beautiful ducks there are for sure.
Yeah. And we actually got really lucky. I don't have a great image because they were so far away, but one of the mornings we went to Nyan King or whatever. If somebody knows how to say Nyan King, Nayan Quing or something like that, better, please tell me how to pronounce it. But this little preserve that is actually quite large, I was corrected after the last episode by Elle. We just only go to this one little accessible spot, but you can kind of walk over and do there's quite a lot of spots that you can get to. It's just compartmentalized, interestingly, but I digress. There's like 5 or 6 wood ducks males flying, and we like snapped a few photos of them in flight, and it was like morning, so the light's like kind of orange and whatever, but um, they were a little underexposed, so mine aren't super clean, but it was still cool because I rarely see like that many wood ducks just like bail out like that. Is sick.
My dream shot of a male wood or any wood duck is them perched in trees like I've seen other people
Yeah,
get. You
yeah,
don't see ducks doing that really. They're like
yeah.
the one duck that just does that. I would love to be walking in the woods and just come across wood ducks in the trees.
Right. I was thinking of that yesterday when I was kind of looking at some of my favorites from the year, and I have some of those hooded merganser shots of him like standing like on ice,
Yeah.
and like so many hoodeds, you just have them on water or
Yeah.
they're like in flight and it's cool or whatever. But him just being like kind of awkward and just like walking around on ice is super sick. So, yeah, perched on a tree would be sick. We're gonna go to your next image, image 5,
Yeah.
which is high in the air.
Yeah. So this was on top of Sugarloaf. This was only last weekend, I believe.
Dang, that's
And
beautiful.
so this was roughly an hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours before sunset, because you can't even see the sun here.
Yeah, dude,
Um,
I haven't been there that green. It's epic. I'm almost always there for fall colors, which is very beautiful. But because
yeah.
it's my default, like the green is so pretty.
I really honestly like the layering because of the wildfire
Yeah.
haze made the green to blue gradient just so appealing to me.
Yeah.
But the only reason I started taking pictures at this moment was probably you see the 3 Canada geese way
Those
off
are
there.
Photoshop, dude.
No, man. That's why I picked the camera up.
I know, I know. I'm just
We
giving you
heard them
shit.
coming from a long ways away, and I picked the camera up. I kind of composed this little like extra piece that it's kind of broken off of Sugarloaf.
Yeah.
This where these trees are and
Hmm.
where this rock is. You can't just walk from where I'm standing because right in front of me is a steep drop off.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So you have to go way down, go around, and then go way back up. It
Mm,
looks closer than it is. It's not that close. But
sure.
anyway, I heard these geese coming, and they came from the left side of the frame to the right. As you can see, they're flying to the right. And so I waited for them to get into that lighter part of the haze there,
Yeah,
just where the layering touches the horizon a little bit. And I
yeah,
have like 3 shots I couldn't pick from because they were all similar.
sure.
So this was as I was editing this, recalling Scott Keyes' episode of The Sweet Spot,
Yeah,
finding just the right timing or positioning yourself, waiting for that bird or whatever it is to get into the sweet spot of the image where you would have preferred them if you could plan it out right. So I had probably 15, 20 seconds of like, okay, I hear them coming. I know where they're going to be. Probably I'm going to wait for it. And I got that shot. So, um, a little bit of masking here to like bring up some of the highlights in the rock to lead into
yeah.
that tree area a
That's
little bit
fair.
there. I actually brushed in some masking through the layers to the horizon to soften that out a little bit more.
Sure.
But this is with the 28 to 105
I
at
see
about,
that.
what was it, 40 something millimeters at 2.8.
This says
And
105.
oh, does it? Oh,
Yeah.
maybe I'm misremembering. Um,
I was surprised. I love telephoto landscape in
yes,
general.
me too.
I think that's beautiful. I saw that and I went, "Oh yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
talking about."
I must be misremembering. But anyway, I really didn't need to help that depth of field much at all. So
No.
I just softened it. I really
Sure.
didn't blur it, So
Yeah, yeah, no, it
um
looks amazing.
yeah, so landscape shot with a little bit of timing there.
Yeah, that's what that lens just lives for right there. That's so
Yes.
epic. Like you'll be able to do whatever you're I have always said my favorite landscape lens is the 70 to 200, which is probably why I haven't used it much because I haven't done a whole lot of landscape. I
Yeah.
absolutely love telephoto landscape.
Hmm.
And this at 2.8 80 ISO. And I checked the size of the image and it's obviously full frame. So, that fat, 8,000 by 5,500 or whatever it is. It's beautiful.
These sensors at like base ISO, just something
Yeah.
magical about it.
Yeah.
I love it.
You can pixel peep that all day, but that Sigma is pretty close to perfect in most ways.
The only thing was that this was the first shot with this lens I've ever noticed chromatic aberration. It's pretty well controlled in a lot of areas,
Yeah.
and this was the first one I had to actually apply corrections at all.
Yeah.
It wasn't much, but it was like I was pixel peeping way in between the trees there.
Yeah, that's what
which is where the problematic areas
right where I
are.
went right away, because I was like, if you're gonna have any, it's gonna be there.
It's
Like
gonna be
really,
there,
my
and it was faint.
G masters are gonna do that.
But this is a landscape shot with all the megapixels right, and I'm like, if I'm ever gonna print this, I should correct this now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you can only see just barely remnants of it, and
Barely.
and like again, it doesn't matter. Like that does not matter.
No, it wasn't bad to begin with.
Some of your best glass ever. This hazy, super highlight. Like the fact that this isn't blown out is already a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And then to have as dark of those pines in front of that almost pure white.
Right.
I mean, I could probably pull the histogram up and see. Yeah. So you're pinging. So you pulled down whatever your highlights were well under the highest exposure. So like you were there. There's definitely somewhere in there lost data, but of course there is, because it's pure white.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't going to be able to get beyond 20 stops of HDR like dynamic range.
Right.
So that's freaking gorgeous. I love that.
Yeah. Push the limits of the lens a little bit, but that lens can handle plenty. So
I try not to think about that lens, because
I know
it's so good, and I just can't bring myself to not have Sony glass.
But I do the same for your 70 to 200. So don't worry. So the next shot I included because it was probably the shot that would make a ton of people mad, only because if you knew that was Trent with his X106, he didn't give me a warning that he was going to do this. He was carrying this camera around like it was like $100 camera, just like the way he's got the strap slung around his hand like that. That's how he was kind of carrying that around. And I was like picking on him for it. I'm like, man, you're gonna bang that camera against a rock and you're gonna break it. And he waited a year for that pre-order too.
Oh.
And he likes the camera, but he is not like heady about tech and camera gear really. Even though he's like a DP and does a lot of like stuff on set with like production and stuff.
That doesn't surprise me. A lot of DPs couldn't care less
That's
if they try. Like, yeah,
that's him.
He's
he
like,
does
dude,
a lot of BTS with that camera. Really.
Yeah, which is great, amazing, perfect, as perfect as that camera could be for BTS. You want vibes and some good BTS shots?
Yes.
Perfect. Don't use your phone. Take the X106.
So I was picking on him. So I was
it.
like, man, you're gonna bang that camera against a rock, and he didn't tell me he was gonna do this, but I was getting ready to take a picture of him anyway, and he slung the camera way out there. And the moment I grabbed the moment, and when it came back down, he turned around back to me and said something to the effect of, "Didn't think I was gonna do that, did you?" And I was like, "But I got the shot."
That's nice.
So I included this just to piss a few people off, because my heart just dropped to my toes when I saw him do that.
That's good, and it is a nice shot. I mean,
I think so too. Yeah,
the sun, the haze, the whole thing, and now you can see how far those rocks are from where your 105 shot was.
Distance is a little bit better portrayed,
which is cool.
But
go back.
Aside from that, this was just him and I up there, and there was like 2 people that came up after we did a little bit, but then they like went back down and hung around a different spot, so we couldn't really see them. And then where the trees are back there on the hill, there was like 6 or 8, like must have been like 18, 20-year-olds that went up there with sleeping bags.
Wow.
And so they looked like they were gonna sleep there overnight, which I was like, dang, cool, man, that's great. I was hoping that they would position themselves for me to get a shot of them, but they didn't really come out of the trees, which was fine. But yeah, I got everything there. It was a nice sunset that we caught. It didn't really explode, but it was a good time, and I know where to go if I know the sunset's going to be good again. Yeah,
I'd love to go more during this time where a lot of the people are out of there. The last few times I've gone there with you, there was like quite a decent amount of people up there.
Well,
it's probably pretty tranquil.
Sugarloaf itself is just very overrun anyway.
Well, yeah. But I'm sure it was nice being pretty tranquil up there and whatnot.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Moving right along. So this is my coworker. He is the guy, I could say so many things, but basically he is a insanely meticulous machine operator who hand sands basically all of the work that comes through the shop. He picks apart every little detail. The reason why we have nice looking finishes is because of this man. He is about to celebrate his first Father's Day. He's a new father, so good for him.
Congrats.
Without getting into too much of his life, but am proud of the dude. But yeah, I was like, hey, I kind of want to take some portraits. I have one of him like in the machine too, from behind his little shelf. But this is the 85 millimeter f1.4, and it's just too sharp. I mean, I added grain to this, and I'm zoomed into 100 right now on his eyes, and it's like just crispy. I actually think I took this with the A7CR, because I still do, like I said, love that camera. And
yeah, it looks great.
yeah, this is kind of the black and white preset I'm working on, with a couple of tweaks. I like it crunchy. I like it to be not quite HDR, but I want you to
Sure.
see a little bit of whatever, so you can see just a little bit of the shadow in his face. There's still detail in all of it. Yeah, he's a solid dude.
And I love that even though it's an 85, would you say 1.4?
Yeah.
The environment is still easily seen.
Yeah.
Like it's not, you probably could have positioned him differently to blow that out more, but you didn't. So you can see some of the workshop setting, which is nice.
Yeah, I wanted his Haas. That's the main Haas that he works on. It's a VF4, and if you know anything about Haas 5-axis machines, it's pretty cool. He has ran so many slides through that thing. He has a ton of hours on that. So
Cool.
that's his little space. He's made it him. He's got a giant foam thing that he drew SpongeBob on that is kind of in the dark that you can't see, which is unfortunate because I thought that'd be funny if he kind of creeped in. But yeah. Anyway, want to do more kind of stuff where I'm getting kind of an intentional portrait and then some shots of people like in their environment. And he's way more comfortable on camera than I would think, knowing him as a person. And he's like,
Yeah, it looks comfortable.
He's like, yeah, I'll do that. Crosses his arms. He's like, is that good? I was like, yeah, man, thanks. So that's pretty cool.
Very nice.
And then I kind of wanted to do these too. We were talking about them in the Discord. I posted them yesterday. And
This shot especially, I love.
Which one, Sadie, or the dark one or the light one?
The dark one.
Yeah, so
Ugh.
I shot this photo because I saw the light coming through the window and her look up literally while we were watching Minamata. So this is sitting on our couch and she's just looking out the window and super sharp. This is actually the A7 IV with the 28-70 f2.8 contemporary. Still tack sharp. Like if you are on a budget, this lens is still absolute freaking gold. I can see the reflection of the tree across the street in her eyeball.
Wow.
So
yeah, you're right.
Yeah, she's a pretty little demon. And we love her to death.
Just that. So first of all, the first thing I saw obviously was the light fall off all over the texture of the skin.
Yeah.
I was like, dang, that's beautiful. But then immediately, like the layering here with the colors, just like the red blanket, the yellow chair, that works super well for me. I thought it gave it like this almost classical feel to it to me. And clearly, like you're taking every bit of advantage of natural light right against a window. So
right. Well,
there.
And it's because it's late, it's all blue. So you have like 3 primary colors here, and then her skin kind of falls to like a little purple, and then you have this green. And so the color just hit so right for this shot for me.
It's perfect.
Yeah, and she's got pretty eyes, and other than her being an absolute demon, we do love her. We have 2 sphinxes for those listening. If you, for some reason, aren't watching the video during this photo share session, yeah. And
the rim light on the ear, perfect.
Yeah, it's not bad. I literally saw it and I was like, "That's beautiful. I need to take this."
Sure is. Glad you took it.
Yeah, super good. Trying to get better at that. When you see cool shots, take them.
And the next one is just equally as awesome.
Yeah, this is Jacob. He normally doesn't look so regal and stoic. He normally is just an absolute goober. If you saw him climbing all over me this episode, he's my sweet boy. He's very dirty ears. He cleans Sadie's ears. She does not reciprocate. And I think he probably definitely needs a bath here. But oh my gosh, look how sharp this is. So I just zoomed into 100. I'm going to zoom into 200 for the YouTube compression.
Sharp.
You can see every window, all that. This is the 40mm f2.5 at f3.5.
Wow.
And it's just so...
That is so sharp.
So good. I love it to death. It's tiny. It has...
But you know what? The sharpness is the thing I couldn't care less about in this photo. It's
Yeah,
just so composed, so nicely. The striking lines, the light and the dark, the
it's
centered part, like in it, you got diagonals. It's just
I so rarely like a super centered. Like I do center compositions for birds a lot because that's all that matters. But a lot of time I'm on thirds. I do a lot of headspace. I do a lot of weird stuff. Um, this is like super teed up because
hmm
so for reference, this staircase. My TV is to the bottom left of it. I actually mounted our TV to this staircase because we live in a loft, and so basically a wide open room. The windows are to the left of him where Sadie was laying on a totally different day. And so I'm walking by with my camera around my neck, and this is at my eye level. So this is about almost 7 foot in the air. And he does this thing when I come home where he just bugs me and he meows and he looks at me. But he must have been particularly hungry this day because he was like, "You need to come upstairs and feed me, Dad." Yeah, and I literally took one image. I turned it on. I've been leaving my A7CR in single shot, so there's no burst. I have to take every single photo, so I just like lifted it up and I was like, "Hi, buddy," click, and then
Nice.
I fed him, and it was beautiful. I cannot believe how the lighting looked.
It's gorgeous.
It's actually quite hard light, but the
hmm
hard light is just behind him
Right.
on a giant wall, and there's a couple windows that go up our apartment. So, uh,
Which honestly helps your composition
yeah,
and doesn't hurt your subject matter.
yeah, and yeah. So there's just basically it bloomed. That whole room lights up because that
Uh-huh.
it sets on that side too, and this is in the evening. So, yeah, this is great. This is an amazing example of why the A7CR and the 40 mil is like an amazing little pop around. I couldn't have taken that with my phone. Like,
And another
yeah.
reason why just have your camera everywhere for anything, even if it's in your own house.
Yeah, yeah, it's epic. He probably moved like literally a split second later.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just was one of those things where I saw the light, I saw everything. I was like, "Oh my god, dude, you look amazing." And he went, "Thank you,
Nice,
Dad.
nice,
Feed
nice.
me." So yeah. Anyway, that's Jacob, and then I'll show you Sadie one more time. She's a demon, but she's pretty. They're sphinxes, and they're very cool. All right,
Very
let
good.
me go back to main. Yeah, so those are kind of some photos. It looks like we'll probably be talking a little less about birds lately.
hmm
I'd love to implement, and I didn't tell you this on purpose. I'd like to do another photo share.
Cool.
What do you think the topic should be?
You're asking me right now.
Yeah,
I
on the spot.
okay. I really like you said, I want to get away from birds a little bit, but I would love to kind of refocus on intimate details. I love details in nature, and that's something I've kind of not been able to do as I'm looking for birds and like looking far out. And I like to reground myself when I'm out in nature, walking around, finding flowers, finding textures. So textures, details, close up. Something like that?
Sure, I'm down.
Cool.
We'll make it happen. So I will leave a link to, well, I'll leave the email in the description if you would like to submit one photo. If you want to share EXIF data, that's like your shutter speed, your settings, things like that. Maybe even like a sentence or two about the photo. We'll share them in the next episode. It'll probably be in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We'll work it out. I don't know exactly when it'll be, but we'll give it a little bit of time and we'll blast around. We'll be talking about it in the Discord. If you've been kind of like watching this show and listening to this show, you haven't really reached out about the Discord because I know there are a bunch of you. There are some viewers that watch this show every single time it pops off and they don't
hmm
talk at all. Comment. What was your favorite photo? What'd you like about some photos? Let's talk some photography and reach out. So you can DM light.overtime on Instagram, underscore David Sargent, at Core Bartos. Message any of us. We'll get you a link to the Discord.
Yep.
You can come in, chat. We are having good conversations pretty regularly. We'd love
Yeah.
to have you there.
A few of you have done it. You've messaged me, asked for the link. That's as easy as it's got to be, and I send a link, and you're in.
Yeah. So it's exciting. I'm pretty stoked to meet some more of you and talk more photography and get into stuff and share some ideas and um,
Yes.
you know, I think that's where I'm living. I'm enjoying the hell out of it.
I get a lot out of it. I see things that I'm not working on, that I'm not pursuing. Like you and I do bird photography often, but even when we're not doing that, like Ryan and whoever else is in there who is posting work, it's stuff that I'm not exposing myself to, and it really motivates me to want to think outside of what I am doing. I love it.
One of our viewers shared doing, their daughter's graduation photos.
Yeah.
Ryan's really just plugging away at, I guess I don't want to put him in a box, but
No.
a lot of what you would expect from like a Fuji shooter. He's been exploring his XE-4 that he almost got rid of again. And yeah, he teaches some photography. We might have to do like an episode with Ryan eventually.
I think we should. Master of light and lines over there.
Yeah, he's who we kind of designed this Discord with. It is kind of a mutual thing between Light Over Time and Ryan.
He finds all the big windows.
Yeah, he does great work. Definitely follow him. I'll throw his Instagram on here. And yeah, so there's some insightful stuff. We meme a little bit, but it's a good time. So certainly join it. Like I said, comment on our Instagrams, follow us, chat with us. We are dorks, and we do want to talk about photos and stuff.
Yes.
And
I want to see your work.
Yeah, despite my diatribe about a Fuji camera that I won't buy today, I finally don't actually care that much about gear because I'm so happy with what I have. So that's a vibe.
All right, man.
That's all I got.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, we'll be here. Hope you are too.
Bye-bye.